Dear noble ones, are you trying to learn 7 languages? Are you? Well, if you are, you're in luck because today we're watching a video from Elise Da Vega, and we have already watched a video from her that we liked. It was the one where her English original language has become a little weird after picking up 7 languages, so it has influenced the native language. But now she says how I learned 7+ languages, tips no one talks about for some reasons. And I'm interested because I've also learned 7 languages, although then again, she's got the plus, so she got me beaten there. And also, I'm not fluent in all of these. But regardless, let's see if I talk about it, because I mean, no one. Teach us.
Language learning not because it's hard, but because they ignore the easy stuff. Most people fail at language learning not because it's hard, but because they ignore the easy stuff that actually works. Hey kids.
Okay. Nice, interesting. I would say most people fail at learning whatever language is because they actually quit. It's as simple as that. If you stick to it, after a certain amount of time, you will learn the language. Now, how much time that is depends on the language you choose, your previous experience, and how optimized your study methods are, which is probably what she's going to tell us about, so great.
Most people fail at language learning not because it's hard, but because they ignore the easy stuff that actually works. Hey kids, it's me. And I've tried just about every language learning method you can imagine, and after years of trial and error, I realized the things that actually work do not get that much attention because they're not very glamorous. Like sure, putting a bunch of sticky notes around your house with Spanish words on them, it seems like a cool life hack, but it's kind of gimmicky. They all fall on the floor after a couple of days. Like who's cleaning that up? Not me. So here are a few tips that actually changed how I learn languages. We're going to cover things like pronunciation, vocab, staying consistent, all that good stuff. I'm also going to give you a sneak peek of my language study guide, so let's get into it. So number 1, learn words in chunks. Do not just memorize them by themselves. And I want you to think of this method kind of like meal prepping, but more on that later. When we first learn words in a language, we often take notes or make flashcards with just the word itself out of context. So for example, llorar in Spanish, to cry. If you learn a word like this, you have to do a lot more thinking when you actually speak the language, because you're manually having to apply the grammar rules every single time. Like if you want to tell someone don't cry, you think, okay, I have to conjugate llorar in the U form, which normally ends with an S, but it's a negative command, so that means it switches to an E instead of an A, so okay, I got it. No llores. And that's great, you found it, but that took so much work and the person already started crying. So this is where the meal prepping comparison comes in. And yes, I love eating so damn much that I came up with this myself.
What did she make? Is that meatballs with mushrooms?
So with meal prepping, the idea is you cook once up front and then you can eat several times without repeating all the same effort. Like you don't have to go shopping and get the ingredients out and wash the damn pot every time. And language learning works the exact same way. So like when you learn a chunk of words like no llores instead of just the single isolated word llorar, you're basically pre-cooking your sentences. Like you've already done the mental prep work once, so when it's time to speak, you can just grab these like ready-made phrases that you learned.
Okay, so I agree with her. It's a very good idea, but do remember that when she says, and when it's time to speak, I'm not saying she didn't say this, I'm expanding onto it. You have to have already repeated that a lot. And in fact, daily repetition is extremely important. It has to be daily. So imagine in this case, nakanaide in Japanese, don't cry, or maybe non piangere in Italian. If you can write all of the different conjugations you might need, but if you only write them once and you don't actually start using them, at least, like, talk to your freaking self. Talk to yourself. Tell your dog. Tell your cat. Because otherwise, if you don't do that and you don't build an experience that creates mnemonic ties in your mind, then when you're actually in a position where someone is about to cry, you'll be like, oh, wait, what was it again?
Use it. You don't need to cook the grammar every single time. So yeah, for example, don't practice the French words aller, marcher, and je separately. Just learn the sentence je vais au marché and practice that. Like that's how natives store language in their brain. So why shouldn't you? Next one. So whenever you read in your target language, always read out loud. If you don't, you are literally...
Yes, but I say that too. So you said no one says these, and I do. I say that all the time on my videos. I do say, guys, stop reading in your head. You have to speak out loud, no matter what it is.
Wasting free pronunciation practice. Instead of just practicing one skill, which is, reading comprehension, you could be practicing pronunciation on top of that. So I just see it as like a missed opportunity if you...
And it's not just pronunciation. Pronunciation is important, making sure that you do pronounce it right, though. So if you're a beginner, you might need to either do some proper listening, or rather than guessing how the word is pronounced, or you might need to ask like someone who's native or is advanced. But regardless of that, pronunciation, absolutely. But it's also the literal muscles in your mouth, like the mouth position. Because again, it's practice that makes you perfect. So you can imagine how to do it's the same thing when you go to the gym. You can imagine the exercise, but if you don't actually do it, the first time you will try and do it, your form will be wrong. It also gives you real, tangible practice, because if you want to learn how to speak, you have to speak.
Don't. But Elise, a missed opportunity for what? I'm so
She's
glad
right.
you asked. I think it has a couple of great effects. When I speak out loud what I read, I think I connect with the text more and I comprehend easier because it's not just like passive. I'm not just glazing over the words, like I'm directly engaging with what
Yeah,
I'm reading
yeah,
and
sure.
producing the sounds.
Cool.
Another thing, reading out loud is one of the easiest ways to build up speaking confidence, especially if you're
Yes.
still like a beginner and you don't feel like jumping into a conversation yet. If you're just reading out loud on your own, no one can judge you. Yay. And you can find out what sounds are difficult for you and just get those like micro reps of speaking practice. I've already done 2
Exactly.
Jembro
So basically, she did say what I said before. So great, we agree.
references in this video. I don't even work out. I definitely noticed that reading out loud always transfers into my next conversation. Like I find myself not tripping over words so often and I just
Yes.
feel like a lot more confident speaking. So whenever you're reading in your target language, you might as well read it out loud. Like it can only help. Numéro 3, shadowing. I wasn't sure if this fits within the topic of the video because I feel like people do talk about this technique. I have before, but I feel like it's only people that are already in the like online language learning zeitgeist community. So like I still think the average person doesn't know about this method, so I'm including it. Shadowing is one of those techniques that feels weird, especially in the beginning, but it works so insanely well. It's when you listen to native speakers and you
mimic.
just repeat what they're
Yeah.
saying in real time. Like you just
I mean, that's what I did when I moved to England. Every time people spoke, then I was like, oh, spoke, not Spock, just to give you an example. And so that was absolutely a thing I did. And when I was in Japan, oh, goodness gracious, not that my pitch is perfect by any stretch of the definition, because pitch is going to take me my entire life to get it right. However, at least the words that I know how to pronounce correctly when it comes to the pitch and I'm confident about, it has all come from shadowing. Absolutely. So whether it be, I don't know, at this point, Samurai, Osaka, Yokohama, Tokyo, Nagasaki, Kobe, Kyoto, whatever it is, it's because of the kare, kanojo, kazoku, right? Let me think one that goes low to high now. Daigaku, I suppose. So yeah, it's because I imitated it, absolutely that. It's a great thing to do.
repeat after them. You copy their rhythm, their tone,
Yes.
their pronunciation as closely as you can. And so it
Absolutely.
trains your mouth and your ear at the same time. And it forces your brain to like process natural speech.
So she's right. The only thing is that once again, when you're an extreme beginner, you will need someone to point out certain things to you, because you may think you're saying it like they're saying it, but in reality you're not, because you're focusing on things that you can perceive, but you're not even aware of the things you're not. This happens with tones in Mandarin. Like you may think, oh, I said it just like you said it, but you didn't, because you didn't do the tone right. You just imitated the consonant and the vowel. And when it comes to, for instance, pitch in Japanese, once again, I've noticed people, like the Japanese guy said, watashi, and the foreigner repeated, oh, yeah, watashi. And I'm like, no, you literally flipped the pitch. Again, not that the pitch is the most important thing, before you bite my head off. I know. But it is part of correct pronunciation. And you might, since you're learning a word, you might as well learn it correctly. And with Mandarin, don't even try and tell me that my tones are not important. Out.
Speed instead of like textbook pace. Even just 5 minutes of shadowing a show or like a YouTube
Yes.
video every day can completely change your accent and your flow in a very short amount of time. Let's do a little demo, shall we? I have here a French documentary and I'm going to show you in real time how to do shadowing.
Okay,
Sound
go.
good? Okay.
Voici
Yeah.
l'école Marie de la Passion
Voici
tenue
l'école
par les
Marie de la
sœurs.
Passion tenue par les sœurs.
La maternelle et le
La
primaire,
maternelle et le primaire,
le collège
le collège
et le lycée.
et le lycée.
She's good. You can pause it, though. You could pause it. So when you don't pause, I have done both, the one pausing and the one without pausing. But the one without pausing, I usually do it as a practice. I used to do it as a practice when I was training to become a simultaneous interpreter, because in those situations, they don't pause and wait. But in general, if you're just practicing your pronunciation, you can pause and, in fact, rewind if needed.
So that is pretty much the short and long of it. I kind of just wait until the line is
Yeah.
finished and then I repeat after them. As close as I can.
Yeah.
As close as I can.
Please, please, please capitalize the I. Please do it. Please. It pisses me off. I capital. Please.
Yeah. If you want to start shadowing but you don't know what to use, I really recommend using LingoPie, which is what I was just using. It's a streaming platform with real TV shows and movies in your target language, so you can actually pick up on how people speak in real life, not just like textbook phrases.
Yeah, that's actually really good. And that's why moving to a country is excellent, because rather than learning a freaking book, or maybe like anime is really nice, but oftentimes the way they speak is not exactly how they speak in Japan, okay? On the streets. So, or in a work environment and in the workforce. For those who can't move to a country or don't have access to natives to be able to see how they speak, then yeah, drama is actually really good because it's set in the modern period. So I wouldn't watch like a movie in the samurai era, because then you'll start speaking like Seisha wa samurai nari. And yeah, so we don't need to do that. But in general, dramas are great because yeah, it's you see a couple arguing, you're actually learning, or like someone getting fired from his job or sacked, or someone late for work having to call their friends or come and pick me up. Like that's excellent because it's vocabulary that it's real, it's realistic, and it's good for you to learn.
Best part is that it's made for learners without feeling like, you know, quote unquote study time. Like they have double subtitles and they're interactive.
Oh, nice. I'll check it out.
You can just like click on a word or a phrase to see what it
that's
means,
Italian.
hear how it's pronounced, and even save it as a flashcard.
Let me look at that Italian actually. I don't care about non me ne frega. Yes, though I do have to underline that non me ne frega or non me ne frega niente, how we would usually say it, it's a little rude in Italian. Now, I know that in American English you do say I don't care a lot more than they do in the UK. I do remember, like, even when I was having an idea with friends, so there's a cultural aspects to this. In fact, there is a niente here, as you can see. I remember I was in England and I would tell friends, hey, do you want McDonald's today, or do you want to get some, do you want to go to a fishy for some fish and chips? And Americans would often say, oh, I don't care, which always sounded rude to me. Whereas normally the English would say, oh, I don't mind, which I think it's a lot nicer. But then again, in America, it's not considered rude. Likewise, and in fact, on the other side of the spectrum, I've heard a lot of English use the expression, the hell, what the hell are you doing? But in England, it was not really considered too bad. But for Americans, it sounded a bit more rude, I think, at least. I guess it depends. So there is a lot of cultural context here. I guess from an American perspective, oh, I don't care about that. It doesn't sound too bad, but non me ne frega niente. It can be rude in Italian. So there is that. Let's listen a little more.
Just like click on a word or a phrase to see what it means, hear how it's pronounced, and even save it as a flashcard. It's such an easy way to get real input without like stopping every 5 seconds to Google something. Like if you're watching a Spanish show and someone says, no te preocupes, you can click it, see what it means, and just, you know, keep it in mind moving forward. That's the kind of context that actually makes words stick. And LingoPie is perfect for shadowing because they have all these tools.
Is this a sponsor, by the way? Because it sounds like a sponsor.
They have speed controls. You can also make it auto pause at the end of every sentence. Very thoughtful and very cool
Code the list for a 20%
So it's really nice.
off.
You're getting pronunciation practice, listening practice, while just essentially sitting on your butt watching TV. It's truly the best of both worlds. You're learning and still relaxing at the same time. I will drop the link below if you want to try out LingoPie. There's a free trial, and it's just amazing. It's one of those tools that makes learning not feel like a ton of work.
Okay, wait. I need to know this now. Learn a language by watching TV. Yeah, the little star. This is definitely sponsored. Fine. I mean, it's nothing wrong with her getting a sponsor, so I'm happy for her. But she has kind of convinced me. I think I should check it out. So usually when I do it, I say, and thanks to the sponsor of this video, but maybe she will. Let's see.
So can't ask for more. Now, this next one is going to be just like a cluster of tips all relating to consistency and how to be more consistent in language learning. Since honestly, the question I get the most from you guys is just how the hell do I stay consistent? My first thought is that you guys might be mistaking what consistency actually is. Like, it does not mean grinding every single day, whether you feel like it or not. Right. It does not mean one specific activity or like a certain amount of time per day or per week. Because then you just end up with this very narrow definition of what counts as language practice. And you just get into this mode of
everything counts.
Of like policing yourself, like, have I done enough? Have I done enough? And the second you don't fall within that like very narrow definition of what enough is, you feel bad about yourself, which is not motivating, and it just makes you more inconsistent because you
she's absolutely right about that.
You think, oh, why should I try? I already failed. So by not being more flexible about what your language practice can look like, you just set yourself up to fail. Instead, how about we redefine what consistency is and just talk about some ways to be consistent? Consistency to me, it just means having a system that works for your schedule and your energy levels and being able to meet yourself wherever you're at. But What does that look like practically? It could look like having an energy menu where you write down language tasks for like high, medium, and low energy days. For example, high energy would be like speaking for 15 minutes and recording it, or writing a short essay, whereas low energy would be like listening to music in the language or just listening to a podcast while you fold laundry.
I agree with that 1000%. Very good video. I'm gonna stop watching so you guys can still go complete the video. Give it a like, watch, subscribe, whatever. Appreciate you, Elise. Second video I've ever watched from her, and I have to say, she's legit. Very good language learning tips. Thank you for watching.